How do you go about changing the minds of people with extremist political views? Well, this TikToker does it by satirizing a Trump supporter to try and get people to reconsider their beliefs. No More MAGA started out on TikTok playing a caricature of an extreme MAGA Republican with the goal of opening people's eyes to just how ridiculous certain philosophies sound. The problem was, people actually believed it.
MAGA people loved what I was doing, and the more ridiculous I got, the more they loved it.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and let's get real for a second, folks. How did we get to this point? How did so many people let themselves get suckered into the MAGA cult? I'm talking about a movement so absurd that even satire can't keep up with it.
Since I was raised on a farm, my dad always taught us that we were Republicans because he said Republicans look out for businessmen. So I never questioned that. As an adult, I started my career and I was working with this guy who was a lifelong Democrat in a job where we worked with people with disabilities. He started talking to me about politics and explaining that Republicans don't care about people with disabilities. I started leaning left. It wouldn't be a very good idea to vote for people that didn't care about the people that I was working with.
He now plays a satirization of an ex-MAGA Republican, with much of his character being rooted in his actual experience.
This message is for all you true American patriots, just like me. I'm here to tell you I ain't taking that COVID vaccine, and you can't make me. I'll tell you why. It's because I am full to the top of freedom. The virus is a hoax. It's fake. And God's going to protect me from it anyway, because I'm bathed in the blood of Jesus Christ.
People got so lost in the lies and the propaganda that they gave up their jobs, their families, and their futures for Donald friggin' Trump, a man who's been lying his entire life to serve himself. And the worst part, the leaders who created this mess, Trump, Marge the Trainwreck Green, Ali Alexander, they're all walking free while their followers pay the price. That's the America we're living in, and it's a damn shame. Take Keith Scott. On January the 6th, 2021, he says it was the greatest day of his life.
I felt like a patriot that was standing beside our founding fathers, speaking up against King George. I felt like Braveheart.
Greatest day of his life? He thought he was out there living his Braveheart moment, standing shoulder to shoulder with the founding fathers. Meanwhile, his part of the mob smashing windows, attacking cops, and trying to overturn a Democratic election. Keith spent months living in his car, going from rally to rally, wrapped up in Trump's lies. He wasn't just brainwashed, he was full-on addicted to this movement.
Now he's carrying a huge flag calling the movement a cult. Believing a cult, whether real or metaphorical, is messy.
If something was posted saying that there was a rally, like, I was not in control. I was going no matter what.
And yet, here's the twist. Even now, as Keith calls MAGA a cult, he's still parroting some of their talking points. He's still defending some of the nonsense that they fed him. That's the power of brainwashing folks. Once it's got a hold on you, it doesn't let go easy. And that's why MAGA is so dangerous. It's not just about politics. It's about control, about turning people into puppets who can't tell truth from fiction. Now let's talk about No More MAGA, the TikTok creator who's been using satire to expose this insanity. This guy starts making jokes, full-on parroting videos mocking MAGA. And guess what happens? A ton of Trump supporters take it seriously. They couldn't even tell if it was a joke. That's how far gone some of these people are. Then there's Pam Hemphill. Pam's a former MAGA supporter who bought into every single lie about the stolen election.
A grandmother and former Trump supporter who went to prison for her actions on January 6, who's now speaking out against the former president for what she calls his gaslighting.
Mother and grandmother Pam Hemphill, who had recently been diagnosed with breast cancer, was there. She had long enjoyed taking video of political events and told police at the Capitol she was a citizen journalist. But she also believed former President Donald Trump's false claims that he won the election.
So when you heard the former president say that he would consider pardoning some J6ers, it changed your mind?
Absolutely, 100%.
And what did you then think of Donald Trump?
That's it. He's just a master manipulator. He doesn't believe anything. He just thinks he's smart enough to pull the wool over you. But there's people like me waking up.
She was at the Capitol on January the 6th. She believed she was fighting for her country. But here's the difference. Pam owned up to it. She faced the music, she served time for her role in the riot, and now she's speaking out about how Trump and his cronies manipulated her. Pam is proof that people can change, even after hitting rock bottom. She's not making excuses. She's not shifting blame. She's telling the truth. And that's more than I can say for Trump or any other of the MAGA leadership. Let's not forget the Christmas party scandal with Marge, the Trainwreck Green, and Ali Alexander. Yep, this is the kind of hypocrisy that defines MAGA. Ali Alexander, the founder of Stop the Steal, threatened to expose Green, claiming he had dirt on her from that party. Now, Green has made a career out of pretending she's the moral backbone of America, but her scandals say otherwise. These are the people running the show, a bunch of hypocrites using their followers like pawns while they rake in the cash and stir up pure chaos. And what about Keith? He says he's writing a book to help people break free from the MAGA cult. Admirable, sure, but the man's still out there at Trump rallies, still carrying flags, still looking for attention. It's like taking an alcoholic to a bar and expecting them not to drink. The man needs help, and at least he's trying to figure it out. But his story is a reminder of how deep this brainwashing goes. It doesn't just mess with your beliefs, it messes with your identity. Here's the thing that really gets me. Keith still can't bring himself to hold the leaders accountable. He says the people who attacked cops on January the 6th should be held responsible. It's fair enough. But what about Trump? What about Ali Alexander? What about all the people who made promises that they couldn't keep, who stirred up the mob and then let them take the fall? The people at the top knew exactly what they were doing, and they faced zero consequences for it. None. They created this mess, and they've left their followers to clean it up. That's what makes stories like Pam's and Keith's so important. They show us the human cost of this movement. Pam talks about the shame that she felt, the relationships she damaged, and the way she was used. Keith talks about the people that he met, people who lost their jobs, people who were estranged from their families, all because they couldn't let go of the lies. This isn't just politics, folks. It's a cult. And like any cult, it destroys lives. But there's hope. Pam broke free. No More MAGA is waking people up with humor. And even Keith, as frustrating as he is starting to see the cracks in the MAGA facade. These stories are proof that change is possible, but it's not easy. Deprogramming from something like this takes time, effort, and a willingness to face some very, very hard truths. Here's the bottom line. We've got to hold the leaders accountable. Trump, Green, Alexander, they're the ones who built this house of lies, and they need to answer for it. But we've also got to help the people who fell for it. We can't write them off. We've got to reach out, show them the truth, and give them a path back to reality. Because here's the thing. This isn't just about MAGA. This is about who we are as a country. Are we going to be a nation that falls for propaganda, that lets fear and division guide us? Or are we going to be a nation that thinks critically, that values truth, and that holds people accountable? That's the choice that we're facing. And if we don't get it right, we're going to end up right back where we started, or worse. So yeah, Keith's story is frustrating, Pam's story is heartbreaking, and No More MAGA's satire is cutting. But they all have one thing in common. They show us that the MAGA spell can be broken. It's not easy, and it's not quick, but it is possible. And if we want to move forward as a country, we've got to make sure more people find their way out. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.